with more in the adventures of Baba Kama and Rava.
The 10th of May, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
Yeah. Lag BaOmer is a off day in in many of the schools. Okay, so we tried to understand this proof of Rava yesterday, and we will continue today. Be'ezus Hashem to try to understand it, and it's our tefillah to Hashem that He will help us and give us siyata d'shmaya that we will understand it. Okay, so let's take it from the top. Amar Rava. This is on Toshma. This is on Kuf Ches Amud Aleph, right? 108 A, and it's the sixth line from the bottom of the sixth line from the top. First word in line is lay. Rava has a proof. And don't anybody ask what is he trying to prove over here? Because if we're going to get into that, that'll take us today and tomorrow and the day after that. So we'll see if we can just see what Rav is saying over here. First of all. Okay, so without further ado, we can do it. And let's go to Roy to start the reading, please.
Rava said, Tashma, come and learn the resolution from the following brisa. Lechad min hashuk. If a man said to one in the marketplace, Heichon Shari Shaginavta, where's my ox that you stole? Where is my ox that you stole? Who Omer lo negavti, and he says in reply, I didn't steal it. Mashbiecha ani, and the owner says, I adjure you that your response is true. But Oman, and he says, Amen. Baharim Mayadin also Shaganava. And afterwards, witnesses testify against him that he did steal it. Mashalom Tashlume Kefil. He pays the twofold payment. V'im Hado Mayatzmo, but if witnesses did not come, and he admitted on his own that he had sworn falsely, Mishalem Keren V'chomesh V'asham, he pays the principal sum and the 1/5 surcharge and brings an asham of Haba al-dim hu dimachayver le kafela. Now here in the latter case, if witnesses had come prior to his admission, it is the witnesses who would have made him liable to the twofold payment by dint of their testimony about the theft itself. If he had not sworn falsely, says Art Scroll, nevertheless, the Baraisa states that Haldo Ma'at Ma Ain, if he admitted it on his own, on his own, is emphasized, without witnesses having come, yes, he is liable to pay the 1/5 surcharge. This implies Ava Echad Arim Lo. But if he admitted to having sworn falsely after witnesses testify that he stole, he is not liable to pay the 1/5 surcharge. V'ain salko da'atoch shavua hamachayevato kefel patato min chomesh. Now, if it should enter your mind that it is only an oath which makes one liable to the kefil payment, that exempts him from paying the 1/5 surcharge, that same oath, but a defendant could become liable to both kefil and 1/5 over the same money, puts in part scroll. Amay Hodo Achad Adim law, and then why when he admits after the witnesses testify, does he not pay the 1/5 surcharge? Makdi. Now let's see. Ko shavua lo ko mechoyevo le kefilo. In this oath that he declared did not make him liable to the kefil payment, since the witness's testimony about the theft itself is what made him liable to it. That's Art Scroll. Techayecha chumosho. Let the oath therefore make him liable to the 1/5 surcharge. Elo lo shema mone. Rather, do you not learn from this? Mamon hamachayevo kefil potarasto min chomesh, that it is the money which makes one liable to the kefil payment that exempts him from the 1/5 surcharge for that money. So the Gemora concludes, Shema Mina. Indeed, learn it from this.
Okay. So Rav is bringing a proof from this brisa to the question that we had, the question that Rami Bar Chama posed, whether mammon, which is what was Rami Bar Chama's question? His question was we know we have a principle, and the principle is that kefil paters mammon, and that's not up for discussion. That definitely is so. Kefil paters mammon. But the question that Rabbi Bar Chama is posing is, in which case is this so that the kefil paters the mammon? And his assumption is that in not all cases will kefil automatically pater the chomesh. And the Gemora gave an example of a case where there's a question whether the kefil would pater the chomesh. And we said the other day, in other words, do we say that when kefil paters chomesh, what it means is that if the same shvua which caused him to be chayav the kefil, such as a case of Toan Tanas Ganav, where it's the shvua that causes him to pay the kefil, and if he admits after the witnesses come, if we say that it's the shvua, that only in a case like that, that's where we say that the kefil that he incurred as a result of being a ton tanis ganav, that based upon that shvua, the admission of swearing falsely in regard to that shvua, which would be machayev him in chomesh, he will be exempt from, based upon the fact that he's chayev in that case, kefil. Is that the case? Is that the only case that we say that kefil paters chomesh, or do we say that in a case in a case which has multiple shvuas, but as long as he was chayev to pay kefil according to one claim that he made, that it was stolen from him, but even if he makes another shvua that it was lost from him, which even if he's proven false on that by witnesses and thereafter admits, he won't be chayiv kefil, because you can only be chayiv kefil in a case where the custodian says it was stolen from me, not where it was lost from me. So in that case, I'm trying to say this correctly, in that case, also, as long as there was a chiyuv kefil in that case, that's what it means. The mumman is gorem the chiyuv kefil. The case which has to do with this mumman, with this deposited animal, as long as in regard to that deposited animal, he incurred a chiyuv of kefil. So wherever else that there was a chiyuv of chomesh that was also incurred, even if it was as a result of a different shvua that he made, such as the case that we brought previously, where he claims that, it was not stolen, but it was lost from me, and he swears to that. Now that would not incur a chiyuv kefil, even if witnesses come and say, at the time that he swore that it was lost from him, it was in his backyard. He won't be chayiv kefil on that. Only if he claims that it was stolen from him, and the witnesses come and disprove him, then he's chayiv kefil. But in that case, he wouldn't be chayiv kefil, and if so, then according to that shvua, he would be chayiv to pay chomesh. But that's the issue. Do we say that chiyuv chomesh that he incurred as a result of that second shvua are we going to say that no, he's going to be exempted from that chomesh? Because we look at the whole picture, and since in the whole picture there was a chiyuv kefil that he incurred as a result of his first claim, when he said it was lost, it was stolen from him, and he swore falsely, and he was proven false on that. So he incurred a chiyuv kefil on that for being ton tanis ganav. So even if now he's chayiv chomesh for based upon a different claim that he made and a different shvua that he made even, but nevertheless, since we say it's part of the same case, it's part of the same mumman, the issue of the deposited animal is the mumman in dispute. So then even that case, the kefil will exempt the chomesh. Now, if you understood all of that, that's gewaldig and amazing. Okay, anyway, so in other words, that's basically what we were saying before we got to Rava. So we have a question. We were fleshing out what exactly is the question that Rabbi Bar Chama is asking. So that was the question as we explained it now. So now we're going to see that Rava's is going to come from this brisa, a different brisa with two different cases, and he's going to say that there's an inference from this brisa to one of those two views that we said in how it could be that kefil paters chomesh. Does kefil pater chomesh only when you got two shvuas, even when you have two shvuas, or is it only pater when you have one shvua? That's really the question. So we're going to see from Rava. Rava's going to prove one of those two sides. Okay. And now with that, we go back to Rashi, and Phil is going to read for us, Be'ez Hashem, this Rashi. We have Rashi here, Amor le'echad min hashuk, and we also have Mashpiacha ani.
Okay, echad. Okay, let me start with the first one. Amar le'echad min hashuk, he said to somebody in the shuk, She'ein shomer al sharo, that I'm not a shomer on watching your shuk. He's saying I have no responsibility for it. I'm not the shomer of that shuk, of that ox. Ein shomer shel sharo. I'm not your shomer on the ox. And then he asks him to swear, and he answers. He's asking him, "Mashpiachani, please swear to me what you just said." Mishum hoda ba'atzmo, because if he admits by himself, in the sefer nakat is chosen. That's why he told him to swear, because of the sefer factor. Aval mishum kefil, but in regards to the paying the kefil, the low shvua, without a shvua, nami mechayev, he would also be chayev, because it has nothing to. The shvua has absolutely nothing to do with him having to pay kefil, if he swears or not. Once he steals it, he has to pay.
Correct.
Has nothing to do with the shvua.
So really, yeah, this next, we're not going to read that. That's later on in the Gemora, I think, and may not even be in the Gemora altogether. Rashi says that's the way to be Goris. Okay, so what Rashi is saying over here is that, look, this Jew number one, he says to Jew number two, where's my shore that you stole from me? And Rashi's explaining that this is why does the Gemara say where it was that they had this discussion? He says to him in the shuk. Rashi says it's because we're talking about a case where this Jew number two, Rashi's stating a fact. He's not stating the claim of Jew number two. He's simply saying that is the case. She'ein shomer al shoro. He was not given this shore to watch. He wasn't given the shore to watch. The Jew number two is coming over. Jew number one is saying, "Where's the shore that you stole from me, from my house? I didn't give it to you." And Jew number two is saying, "Not me. I didn't steal your shore." And Rashi's just saying there's no issue over here of him being a custodian. He wasn't a custodian. It's not a custodian case. Then Rashi is saying that when Jew number one says, so what was his claim? Jew number two, his claim was, I didn't steal it. So on that, Jew number one says to him, I adjure you to verify or whatever, to make a shvua, really, it's what is amount to as a shvua, that is true what you say. And he says, Amen. And this has a halakhic status of a shvua. Now, Rashi says over here, that really, we see from the Brisa, we got two cases. We got a Reisha and we got a Sefer. The Reisha talks about that he made a shvua, mashpiach ani. Rashi says that really, as far as the din of the Reisha goes, that the Jew number two is going to be chayiv kefil over here, is not because of the shvua that he swore falsely to. What's the reason that Jew number two is chayiv kefil in the Reisha of this brisa? Like Phil said, because there was witnesses that testified that Jew number two ganvid Jew number one's sure. That's the reason why he's chayiv kefil. It's even if he would not make any oath whatsoever, he would be chayiv kefil because witnesses came and said that he stole the animal of Jew number one. Okay, but Rashi says the reason why the the case in the Brisa states that he made a shvua is because we're going to need to talk about a shvua that Jew number 2 made in the Sefer, because in the Sefer we're talking about where he made a shvua mi'atzmo. He made a shvua without with not after witnesses came, but witnesses did not come, and when he made a shvua, he thereafter admitted that he had sworn falsely, and that is the scenario in which he would incur a chiyuv to pay chomesh, and that's what the Brisa says. The Brisa says that in that case he is chayiv to pay chomesh. So we got a reisha that says a case where he's chayiv to pay kefil, and we got a seifa that says that he's in this case he's chayiv to pay chomesh. Now, on that, Rava made a diuk on the between what it says in the reisha and the seifa of this brisa. He said, "V'hacha edim hudim mechayvi le kefela." Here in this brisa over here, it's clear that it was the testimony of the witnesses that made him chayiv and kefil, and not the shvua. We're not talking about a case of Toan Tanas Ganav. But nevertheless, and what's the right? It says he's chayiv kefil, but then it says in the Sefer, when the Sefer says that he's chayiv chomesh, what is the case where he's chayiv chomesh?
He has to,
Only
what you call it?
Yeah.
He has to admit it to get out of paying kefil, and he has to admit it before the witnesses come.
Right. Now, what happens if he makes an admission after Rava says it's meduyak in the Sefer that if he would make this admission after witnesses came and made him chayiv and kefil, then the din would be, as far as the chomesh goes, that he would be exempt. The Brisa says that the case where he is chayiv chomesh is only if he made a shvua me'atzmo, without witnesses coming. But if witnesses did come and they made him chayiv in kefil, even though the shvua was not what made him chayiv kefil, but he was made chayiv in kefil because of the witnesses. Nevertheless, we see that the Sefer says that the only case in which he's going to be chayiv to pay chomesh is if he admits by himself. So Rava infers from there that if he would have made if he would have made an admission after witnesses came, he would not have to pay the chomesh. That's the inference that Rava wants to get out from this brisa. That in the case where he was chayav to pay kefil not because of a shvua, but only because witnesses came. So, nevertheless, even though it was, the only case that he would not be chayav to pay chomesh if he made his admission that he swore falsely after witnesses had already made him chayav in kefil. Okay, so now the question. So what does the Gemora? What does Rava want to prove with that? Rava wants to prove that you see from this that what it says in our brisa, that he would not be chayiv to pay chomish if he made his admission after witnesses made him chayiv and kefil. Rava wants to prove from that you see that the reason why he would be exempt in chomish in that case is because since he was obligated in kefil, in this case of this mammon over this animal, so he cannot. So he incurred a chiyuv to pay kefil, even though it wasn't in connection with the same shvuah in which he became chayiv to pay the chomish. Nevertheless, he is going to be exempt from paying the chomish, because in this case, which had to do with the dispute over this animal, that's called the mammon of the case. The mammon was what caused the chiyuv kefil. Nevertheless, and as opposed to the shvuah, and it wasn't the same shvuah that caused him to be chayiv chomish, was the same shvuah to cause him to be paying kefil. No, it wasn't that. Nevertheless, we see from this brisa, infers Rava, that you see in that case he doesn't pay chomish. And what does that prove? Rava says what that proves the question of Rabbi Bar Chama. Rabbi Bar Chama said, do we say that you can't have an obligation of kefil and chomesh in regard to one case of one disputed item? Or do we say no, that you could have, only where you have the chiyuv kefil being incurred and the chomesh being incurred from the very same shvuah? Only in that case do we say that kefil is poter the chomesh. So Rava says, oh, well, you see, those are the two sides, the first side and the second side, and Rava is proving that the first side has to be the correct side, because we see over here that the brisa holds that there will be an exemption on chomesh, even though that chomesh and the kefil were not part of the same shavua. Only the chomesh was part of the shvua, and the kefil was from something else. It was from witnesses. So you see, according to that it's that we hold that when do we say that the kefil exempts the chiyuv to pay chomesh, where the chiyuv kefil occurred in that case, anywhere in that case, even as a result of witnesses, it was incurred in this mammon, in this dispute over this animal. That's the mammon, and so if anywhere in the case there's a chiyuv of chomesh that would be incurred based upon a shvuah that didn't cause him to be chayiv to pay kefil, so it's largely unrelated. But since it all goes in the same box, all of these the kefil and the chomesh goes in the same box of being in the same case with the same dispute over the animal. So we see that the brisa holds that in such a case, if even though he incurred a chiyuv kefil as a result of the witnesses, but if he incurred chomesh as to pay as a result of admitting to a shvuah in a different not because of the witnesses, nevertheless, the kefil that he was chayav to pay on account of the witnesses will pater him from the chomesh obligation that he would that he would otherwise have to pay based upon the fact that he admitted that he swore falsely. Okay, and that is Rava's proof. Okay. It's not easy, but you can think about it. It's always good to think about it. And yeah, so very good. So I think that we covered the subject sufficiently. And if anybody has any questions, I don't expect you have questions now, but if you have any questions after you think it through, you can. You're welcome to get back to me on that one. Okay, but at this point, I think we're going to go to the next section of the Gemora. Boy Ravina. Boy Ravina, we go to Alan to read for us.
Page now.
Boy
What page?
Ravina.
108A1. The right hand, you got that page?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, 108A1. On the right hand column down the bottom, Ravina inquired, or if you like, it's having
got it.
concluded that the capital payment.
Having concluded that the capital payment and 1/5 surcharge cannot both be imposed over the same sum of money, the Gemara cites a further inquiry in this regard. Ravina inquired, Chomeh ucha Felor Bisgrei Gabrei, if the 1/5 charge and the capital payment for the same sum of money are incurred by two people, what is the law? The Gemara explains, Hevi Dama, what is the case? Begon Sar, so Ray, B'nai Adam. It is a case where one entrusted his ox to two people for safekeeping as unpaid custodians. New Bo Mace Gabor, and they claimed that it was stolen when they'd actually stolen it themselves. And one of them swore falsely and afterward admitted his guilt. Whereas the other one swore falsely, and witnesses came and testified to his guilt. Thus, the first ought to be liable to the 1/5 surcharge, and the second to the capital payment. What is the law? Michelle Lane, me, non Bachar, Gabaror, for feed, Raka Monoa, the law, Shalem, Kum Shua, law. Do we say that with respect to one person? There must be one in particular that he should not pay both the 1/5 surcharge and the capital payment over the same principle. Avol, Bisray, Gabaray, Hai, Mishalem, Pelor, Bahai, Mishalem, Humshor, but with respect to two people, this one pays the kefil payment and the other one pays the 1/5 surcharge, or more, or perhaps, although Allah, Elon Bay, Haid, Manona, Kofid, Raka Mono, Delo, Michelle, Law, perhaps is over one whom assure whom Philor is over one sum of money that the merciful one who was particular with the 1/5 surcharge and the capital payment should not be paid in any circumstances. And here too, although the 1/5 surcharge and the capital payment was incurred by two different people, who is nevertheless one sum of money of which both would be incurred, and the merciful one included this. The Gemora offers no resolution. It includes teku. Let it stand unresolved.
Okay. I have to go. Take care. Be well. Sorry to
Okay,
interrupt.
all the best, Phil.
Bye, Phil. See you later.
Okay, so the question that Ravina is asking is he's going with the assumption that according to just like Rav approved in the previous section, that that when do we say that kefil patras mammon, kefil patras chomish rather? Where do we say that kefil patras chomish? When it's chad mamona, when it's all incurred, both chiyuvim are incurred in the with regard to a case that involves the same same disputed item, the same mammon. He's taking that as a given, and then he's asking a question. According to that it's the mammon. If it's long as it's the same mammon, then the kefil will pater the chomish. Then he has this question: what happens if in a scenario that you have two individuals, number one and number two, and Jew number one, he incurred the kefil obligation because witnesses came and testified against him that they saw that Jew number one stole the animal, and as far as Jew number two is concerned, he made a shvua that he did not steal it, and then he thereafter made a admission that he in fact swore falsely. So thereby he incurred a chiyuv chomish. So one Jew is chayav the kefil, and the other Jew is chayav a chomish. Do we say that even in this case the kefil paters the chomish because they're both both of the kefil and the chomish are in regard to the same case of mammon of this disputed animal, or do we say no? We don't say in this case that there's going to be a patur on the chomish. It's only when it's when one person incurs the chiyuv kefil and chomish in one case. But in this case, there's two people. So in that case, person number one could be chayav kefil, and person number two could be chayav chomish. So he's asking, what's the halacha in that case? And the Gemora says, teku. Tishbi Yataretz, Kushis Ve'abayos. Let Eliyahu Navi come and answer what's the correct answer, the halacha in this question. We cannot determine what's the answer. So it's just an interesting case because here you do have a case of both of them were given the most. We're talking about a case where one person, he gave over this animal to two different people that they should watch it. So both of them are regarded as custodians of this animal. It's coming into their possession with permission. So they're not out and out ganovim. But it says both of them make a claim that the animal was stolen when the owner comes to get it back. They both of them together make that claim. It was stolen from us. And one of the two custodians swears to that effect, that it was stolen. And then and after making that shavua, then he is he's moda. So like that, he should be chayv to pay chomish at that point. The other one, he also made a shvua. But then witnesses came. And they gave testimony that in fact that person, that second custodian, he stole it. And so on that basis, he is obligated to pay kefil based upon their testimony, not based upon the fact that he swore falsely, but based upon the fact that the witnesses came and made him chayv to pay kefil because they testified that he was ganav. So like that, one of them is chayv to pay kefil, and the other one is chayv to pay a chomish. So we want to know, in that case, do we say, oh no, the kefil will exempt the person number one's obligation to pay kefil will exempt person number two's obligation to pay chomish? And the Gemora says this is stays on a teku. It's a suffix. What the din is in this case. Okay, very good. 12:31.
Okay.
All the best to everybody. Have a great day.
Okay.
Bye. Be
Luke,
well, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, we'll see you at 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. No